Why aren't the judges going in their chambers and discussing this and interviewing the children to see how much they love you and this and that? Or let's move on and let's come to some amicable solution. These are all good points, and these are human responses. These are things that normal people think. You know why they don't do that? And this touches back on the original point that I made earlier. Is this justifies their existence? They are trying to kill Ted. They are trying to drag this out as long as possible because this is what they are. They are not mediators. They are not people who are put in place to mitigate conflict. They are in fact creating conflict and stirring up conflict because they have no other purpose. These people are not trained to fix problems. If they really wanted to, and this is why they do this, is because if in the beginning, if they were to come down and do exactly what you folks have said, and why don't they do this? Why don't they do this? If they do that, that makes sense, right? That makes the most logical, reasonable sense. If they do that, they lose their jobs. They can't get enough people in there fast enough to actually make a significant, substantial profit. Here, I'll move back over. Because it's not about, hey, it's not honest work. When you go and you have a job, say you're a plumber and you go to a job and you say, hey, this is a $2,000 job. You're walking away with $2,000. But if you're a corrupt plumber and you've got the long arm of the government assisting your corruption in your fucked up plumbing trade, you can go in, and this is what they do. They go through the house and they open up walls and they cut holes in the walls to access every little pipe, and then they replace some of these pipes with broken pipes, and then they'll throw some shit down your dishwasher disposal and get it all greasy, and then they got to call another guy in to fix that. Then they got to call a drywaller in to fix the holes that they punched in the walls. And then there's no, and so you can't do anything about it because they're protected by the long arm of the government. So the point is that they don't get just the $2,000 that the honest plumber charged for the job. They turn a $2,000 job into a $200,000 job and an 8-year progression of the job, because that is how this is not honest work. This is an industry designed to make profit. It is designed to traffic children and use their parents as pawns, pit them against each other, and use the children as a way to sign checks. That's all this is. This is not honest. This is not government. This is not even real court. These people are mafia.
It's racketeering.
So the point is that I was originally making is that you guys are all saying things. Well, why don't they do this? Why don't they do this? And why don't they put this into place? And yeah, all those things make sense. They can't do that because this is what justifies their existence. The mafia didn't go and do real work for people and say, well, this is how we're going to make our living. No, they extorted people. They shook people down. They monopolized entire city blocks and shook down the business owners because these people don't produce anything. They don't actually provide or produce anything of value. They just steal it and beat it out of people, and they use children to do that. They use children as their pawns. These people are not normal, rational, compassionate human beings. They are all parasites. They are actual monsters. So that's what's happening here. Everything that Ted just told you.
When they're intruding on the family and basic family rights, that makes them predators.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I was going to say,
and not to mention the fact that these are attorneys that are doing it, officers of the court sworn to uphold the Constitution.
Right.
Well, and these people are engaging in child trafficking on an industrial scale.
The other thing I was going to say is you listen to Ted talk for the last, say, 5 or 10 minutes, and he talked about orders of protection. He talked about having to put signs up outside the house because this woman's abusing people. There's counselors involved.
I was calling them out.
Yeah, and so, but
I was calling them out, and I got my rights to my kids taken away for trying to see my kids while they're breaking the law.
If these people were actually trying to solve problems as they purport themselves to be, it would have never gotten that far. There wouldn't be orders of protection. There wouldn't be CPS and DCFS at Ted's door where he has to kick them out. And then they do this. It's one thing after another. They light the match, and then they watch the fire burn, and then they pretend that they go in and they clean it up, when really they could have extinguished the match in the very beginning. This is what justifies their existence. And the quicker that the mass public comes to terms with the fact that these people, these are not real courts, that these people are not government officials, that they are in fact just parasitic mafia overlords, the quicker that we're actually going to come to a resolution here, that people actually are having relationships with their children and not having to deal with this conflict. There is no reason. Everybody you talk to, and that was another point I wanted to make earlier about how we met. Everybody, and I'm sure almost every single one of you in this comment thread, everybody I talk to that's going through this, they say, I don't see my kids. I haven't seen my kids in several years. There's always orders of protections. There's always some type of allegation or lack of allegation of abuse. Some type of, he's crazy, gaslighting, oh, he did this and this, and there's no ever any evidence to support it. There's always several police reports. So there's a lot of things that are following patterns in everybody's cases that show that, okay, something's broken, something's not working. It's not broken. That's exactly the point. That's what they're doing. They're doing this on purpose in order to drag this out over the course of years. There is no reason that someone involved in a marital dispute or a dispute with another adult human being who has a child in common, why this should be going on for actual decades. None. Why is this going on for decades? Why are people not seeing their kids for several years, not just 1 or 2, but 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 20 years? It's because this is a system that is
It's a game of keep away. And what these
because of money. It's
all
about
because of the money, and it's because a segment of the population has personality disorders, the cluster B personality disorders, where they have no empathy, they have a sense of entitlement, and a self-image that is unrealistic, and all they care about is projecting an image that is unrealistic.
Yes, Dave, stop playing by the rules.
It's narcissistic, and then
They don't even follow the
and then
rules.
some of them have attachment disorders, where they're just frightened beyond belief of losing control, losing, relationships. So they destroy the relationships for other people. And these people are glommed on there, the golden goose. There are men and women that are like this. And they ride them as long as they can. And they keep the balance. The balance will be way offset. Okay, but they'll keep the equilibrium for fighting just right at the hottest point.
Yeah.
Where one person doesn't get, depending, of whether it's a lot of people just give up, and a lot of people expect people to give up.
Well, a lot of people don't believe that this is happening. I've talked to people online and even in person and in groups and things, and some of this stuff sounds so bizarre and so outlandish that they're like, there's a reason you're not seeing your kids. Maybe you're a little, you got a screw loose there, and maybe the courts, because most people are conditioned since we're little bitty babies to believe that the courts are just, that the justice system is a little flawed, but generally it works like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And this is what we're taught since we're in grade school.
Yeah.
And the teachers will tell you this, and this is what we're teaching the next generation.
It's what you see in the movies.
It's what you see in the movies, right? It's romanticized and validated, and this is not the case at all. It's
terrible. So back to the hearing.